Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I have two very special recipes for you guys today, and they both have their own unique little story attached to them. The idea behind these are motivated by a romantic anniversary vacation with a culinary experience that never happened and a lengthy family road trip that was filled with road trip snacks. With the help from California Walnuts, that is sponsoring this video, I'm going to walk you through a fine dining entree that takes a fillet of sea bass and transforms it into something that you'd see on an elite restaurant menu, and a beautiful dessert made up of my favorite road trip honey candied walnut snack turned into a perfect crunchy ice cream topping. With all that said, let's dive into the recipes. First up on the agenda will be the savory walnut crusted Chilean sea bass. Here I'm going to take about a 14-ounce skin-on fillet of the sea bass and gently remove the skin with clean knife strokes, and I'm going to slice just ever so slightly above the skin to stay away from the bitter flesh that's directly attached to it. After that, I'm going to portion them into 3 to 4 ounce fillets and then season each fillet with some salt and let that almost do a light cure on the fish to firm it up while it's in the fridge. This gets rid of any excess water retained in the fillet and makes the fillet a little sturdier than it would normally be. Alright, so next up is to make the savory walnut crust. For this, I'm going to basically fine chop everything together, starting with the freshly picked basil, thyme, and garlic. That's all from my garden. Then chopping that together with the walnuts. For the consistency, you want to try and be right in between coarse and fine because you don't want the walnuts to easily fall off the fillet, yet not too small that you lose the identity of the nut altogether. Now that the walnut crust is done, it's time for the champagne mustard Buerre Blanc. So in a small saucepan that's on low to medium heat, I'm going to add a little bit of butter to it and sweat the finely chopped white onions with some whole peppercorns until they are translucent. After that, I'm going to pop the bubbly and add a good amount to the pot and reduce that by 2/3. When the reduction is complete, you're going to strain it and add it back to the pot, making sure to squeeze out all that reduced flavor. Then add a splash of heavy cream to it and turn the heat down to low. Slowly add small amounts of cold butter to the pan while constantly whisking it to create the emulsification. Continue to add the cold butter a little at a time while taking it off the heat until the sauce easily coats the back of the spoon. When the sauce consistency is there, finish with a sprinkle of salt and a little bit of Dijon mustard. One of the things just to mention with a sauce like this, if you can't use the sauce right away, make sure to keep it in a warm place with the cover to prevent a skin from forming. Alright, so now comes the fun part for me since I cooked fish in restaurants more than anything else. So here I'm going to lightly pat the fish with a paper towel to get rid of any moisture on the outside. After that, I'll add a splash of canola oil to a nonstick pan that's on medium to high heat and start searing the fish. cook this for about 3 minutes on one side. Then I'll add a little bit of butter to the pan, flip the fish, and baste it for about 2 minutes with the heat off to break the chill on the inside of the fillet, but not cook it all the way through. Once the fish is ready to go, remove it from the pan and onto a tray. Then I'm going to mix together 1 egg yolk with a little Dijon mustard in order to create a glaze for the walnut crust to stick to. After that, top the fish with a generous amount of the savory walnut crust and into a 400-degree Fahrenheit oven. This will go for about 7 to 10 minutes depending on the size of each portion. Finally, the last component to the dish is this beautiful spinach with stem and all. In a saute pan that's on medium heat, I'm going to add in a little bit of butter, garlic, and sliced lemon zest and let the flavors meld together in the hot butter. Then I'll add in the spinach, all the same direction if possible, and then gently turn it for a very light saute. Add a sprinkle of salt and a squeeze of fresh lemon juice to finish, and it's time to plate. Alright, so now I'm going to remove the beautifully caramelized and crispy sea bass from the oven and start layering the flavors onto the plate. First, starting with the spinach. Now I like to blot it on a paper towel before it hits the plate since it tends to hold a lot of liquid. Then I'll spoon in some of the champagne mustard Buerre Blanc in the middle of that spinach swoop, if you will. Then finally, the walnut crusted Chilean sea bass. And that's it, a wonderful dish that I'm sure would have easily been topped from Alice Waters at Chez Panisse if I didn't have to cancel my wife's birthday vacation last March. But it seemed like it worked out pretty well all in all. Alright, so now that the Chilean sea bass is out of the way, next up on the menu is going to be my honey candied walnuts. So in a small pan, I'm going to add in the honey, sugar, and water, then simmer this for about 5 minutes on medium to low heat. Once the honey syrup is done, I'll add in the walnuts and coat them thoroughly with the syrup on all sides. Just to mention, you can and probably should use a bigger bowl or pot to do this, but I managed with my tiny pan. Next, using a slotted spoon, I'm going to transfer the walnuts to a baking tray lined with some parchment paper and evenly spread them out to ensure really good caramelization on all the nuts. Also, I'm cooking these in a 350-degree Fahrenheit oven for about 15 minutes, turning them at least once in between. Okay, now it's on to my ice cream. Now there's lots of different ways to make ice cream, but this is by far the easiest and always turns out incredible. For the ice cream base, all it is heavy cream with the strained honey walnut syrup and a little added sugar to make sure the ice cream gets super creamy. After that, pour the base into your favorite ice cream machine and let the magic happen until you have a sturdy yet super creamy ice cream to work with. While the ice cream is setting up in the machine, pull the walnuts out of the oven and give them one final stir, and they should be ready to go after they've cooled down just a little bit. Once the ice cream is finished in the machine, you're going to transfer it to a chilled bowl and then put it into the freezer to stiffen up ever so slightly before you scoop and serve. Now that everything seems ready to go, gather up the honey caramelized walnuts and ice cream, and it's time to scoop. I'm very traditional when it comes to ice cream, so just use a ice cream scoop with a little water to get relatively clean scoops into an ice cold mug. Then top with these beautifully honey glazed walnuts to finish, and that's it for this one. I love when I create a recipe based off one of my favorite snacks, especially on a long road trip, when there's lots of thinking to do. Also, I know it's dessert and all, but these walnuts pack some serious omega-3s, so there's always a plus when it comes to using walnuts in any recipe. And that's it, folks. Hopefully you guys enjoyed these recipes. Got my spoon. Got my halibut, my ice cream. What's up, guys? Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I am very excited to taste these dishes. The walnut crusted halibut, beautiful Buerre Blanc, nice sauteed spinach, and then this honey filled crunchy ice cream with the honey candied walnuts. But before I dive into this, I want to give a special thanks to California Walnuts. It always blows me away just to think about conceptualizing an idea and revolving it around a single ingredient. And I love walnuts. It's great for snacks, great for entrees, desserts, everything in between. So I definitely want to thank them for sending out some beautiful walnuts for me to test out and share with you guys some fun recipes. So let me dive into the flavors and I'll go from there. Chilean sea bass is always such a treat. Get a little bit of that sauce. It's a meaty fish, almost has like a lobster texture, like scallops. That sauce is ridiculous. Ooh, and the crunch of the walnuts. So you got a lot of things going on here. Beautiful, tender, a meaty fish, fatty, rich in oil. And then you have the crunchy walnuts with some of the herbs and the garlic in there. Little hint of mustard, very, very faint, but just sort of a background flavor. And I love cooking my spinach like this, just whole, very pure, beautiful way. Lemony garlic in the spinach, beautiful champagne flavor with the Buerre Blanc, crunchy topping, beautiful like oily, meaty fish. I love it. All right, now it's time for the ice cream. Believe it or not, this would be a great dessert or follow-up dessert from this entree dinner. So good. Crunchy, just has a little hint of the honey in the actual ice cream. I don't know if you can hear that crunch, but when you bake the walnuts just the right way to where some of that oil leaches out of them and it just leaves that crisp nut left, makes for a wonderful flavor. Oh, this ice cream is super smooth. It's so funny. Like I said in the video, when I was on that road trip, especially when we have candy nuts or candied walnuts, I'm always thinking of like a topping with them as I'm snacking on them. If I put them in a trail mix or something like that, there's always some sort of concept I'm figuring out while I'm eating almost anything, and especially, road snacks. So this was great. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, subscribe to my channel. Give the video a big old like if you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you check the description box for equipment links and the recipes, the ingredient list for these recipes. Comment down below for future video requests, things you want to see on my channel. And that's it, guys. I'll see you next time with another recipe. Later, folks.